Okay, we're looking at another re-upload video from one of my other channels, and this is a bandsaw. It's actually a Power King, which is technically an Atlas, made anywhere from 1941 to 1947. After 47, it became Atlas. Basically, I needed a new bandsaw. I was talking to a guy at work. He said, I got one you can have. I gave him $20 for it because I felt bad. And we're getting ready to rip it down here. You can see the Power King logo. And first we'll take off this upper cover, and we're going to spin the wheel. There's no belt. You can see it's pretty bad. Blade, not belt. And we're taking off the blade guard, and now we're taking off the bottom cover. No knobs. And spin it again. Doesn't really spin. Now we're taking off the actual wheel, and they wouldn't come off, so I had to get a bearing puller to get them off. We're going to take off the top cover. Now we're taking off the adjuster. I really wish I could have slowed this video down. I originally recorded it in this speed, and it's a little bit too fast. Actually, a lot too fast. Really not a whole lot I can do with it now. I tried to slow it down, but it just became choppy. So now we're removing the guide bar here. That actually gives you your height adjustment for your blade, and we're going to take off the bottom wheel. Same thing. Had to get it off with a bearing puller. Now we're going to take off the top. Taking off the brackets and doing those. Here is the cover, and that thing is junk. Not the original, it was some hand fabricated thing. I don't need a cover for the belt on there. It's on the back hand side. Here's the old switch, which I shouldn't say old because I end up reusing it, but I'm taking that off. I'm going to take the motor off. Now I did not test this unit out before I tore it down. I just know I wanted to get it down. I'm taking out the key here. Now we're going to tap out the pulley, and you can hear those bearings. They are shot. Figure they're about 75 years old, so to pound them out, and there it is. I did not take it off the stand. There was really no need to, and I just didn't feel like doing it. Okay, old sawdust. Now that's probably not 75-year-old sawdust, but it's pretty old. I think he said he had last used it 20 years ago. We're getting the vacuum out. We're going to get some of the nasty off. And we're taking a sander and just getting some of this rust off. Now here I'm using a product. If you watch the original video, I kind of do a little blurb in there. This is a rust inhibitor and rust preventer and remover right here. And it's about an hour setup time, which I kind of mentioned in the video. This is a goop, and I spread it on, and it's gone, and now we're putting some primer on there. There we go. Now we're going to start painting it. There we go. Now we're going to peel off all the tape, because I put tape over the badges. Here we are putting some new bearings in, and I actually had to just come up with a bar and some bolts, or nuts rather, to get those bearings squeezed in there. I didn't really want to pound on them too much. And there they are. In there. And I got those on Amazon, so I think they were pretty cheap. See, it's looking pretty good. Don't recall the paint color I used, but I liked it. Using more of the rust solutions here. This is for the nuts and bolts. They're all rusty. So we're going to just drop them in there. And I let it set overnight, and here's what we end up with. They were completely rusted. A mess. So here's another shot of the, well, no, I'm taking the old rubber off the wheels. There you go. Putting the pulley on, painted that as well. There's the wheels, putting the bearings in those. I did the same thing I did with the other, and here are the new tires or belts, whatever you want to call them. So I'm using a C-clamp, block of wood, and they sent me this little tool with them. So it's just a block of wood with a screw and like a plastic cover to prevent them from being torn. And they were not very hard to get on at all. You actually soak them in hot water for a good bit before you do this. You could try it without, but I say they weren't bad. I got them on there, but they weren't the easiest to get on there, but they're there. And then we're mounting it all back up. There it is. Again, the hole, it's too fast. Putting the front bracket on. This is all for the the blade height. This is just a little guard I'm putting on there. And new bearings. Now I'm priming the top cover and I'm painting it. Now I'm sanding it. You can see the cast iron top was just a mess. Sanding it. Put the guides in. And I'm going to put the brackets for the top on. Now I did this whole thing in a weekend, so it's pretty proud of that. Usually something like this would take a little bit longer for me to do to family, but we got some cool blocks here. Putting those in, trying to get them adjusted. I end up adjusting them off camera later, but a little bit finer, but I just snugged them in there for the time being. You can see that new bearing in the background. Put them on both sides. Here are the bottom ones. Now the bottom ones, this is an old saw, so it's not the most user-friendly. These are way easier to put in and adjust before you ever put the top on, because they are, you can get to them, but they're not the easiest. These are just the standard size, really. I had no problem finding parts. Bearings were not, just measure them, order them from Amazon. These are cool blocks, not specific to this model, but this style. You can see with a blade on how smooth it is compared to how it did not spin without a blade even being on there before. Now it spins very free. And I painted the edge of the table, or the top rather, and I'm peeling all the tape off. And it turned out pretty darn good in my opinion. I'm pretty proud of that top. Putting the blade guard back on. And next we're going to put the top covers back on and peel that tape off. We kept the logo. There it is. Now there was missing one of the spacers for the covers, so I just got some pipe from Home Depot, cut it to size, and put them in there right there. There's the motor. Just cleaned it and painted it with a matte black finish. Looked brand new. And here we are. We're going to do some test cuts. Now this whole build, I think it was either $100 or $120. I may have spent $120 on it. And I've got a saw that'll last me my lifetime. So cuts are very straight. I have since put a fence on there, just one of the Carter fences that is magnetic. And I've also put a different insert in there, like a zero clearance. That was the original one. I still have it. I kept all the original parts. And here's just a little blurb with me holding my iPhone with one hand, and I'm just making some cuts. Now the blade I have in there isn't the best, so it's a little noisy. It's not the riding against the bearings. I thought it was, but it was actually the blade. So I'll put links in the description below. I'll try to of some of the items used for this, specifically the rust remover and the tires, but other than that, there's really not a whole lot to put in there. Maybe some of the tools that I used. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below. Subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.